Imagine this, 8-year-old me, ready to go hang out at my older cousin's house. He's got a badass PS1. Not only that, he has a new game that he wants to show me. Now, we were fans of fighting games, and we used to try to see who the real man was in everything from Mortal Kombat 3 to Super Street Fighter, you know. But Super Nintendo was a little bit of a thing of the past. He was on the cutting edge with that PS1, and he had a new game that was unlike any fighting game that I had ever seen, or so he said. Well, he opened up that PS1, he slapped the disc in, and there was my ticket to feudal Japan for the first time. Well, outside of Ninja Turtles 3, but a lot of people try and forget about that one. But there I was, in the middle of a sword fight with countless enemies, and you were one wrong move away from imminent doom. I'd never played anything like it, and needless to say, my mind was blown. First off, let's start with the character selection. It was a little bit blank. You could tell that there were some characters that you could unlock in this game, because there was the character selection menu with a bunch of empty spaces, and we all know what that means. But how do you unlock these characters? Bushido Blade 2 had this interesting format where it would make you play with a different character that wasn't available for you to select, and if you did not die, you got rewarded with the ability to play through the game with that character that just showed up out of nowhere that you got a chance to play with. And one of my favorites was this red-clad, ninja-looking guy named Night Stalker. No, not the infamous Night Stalker, who was a horrifying piece of shit, but a badass ninja-looking dude. The only really annoying part of this was that you get hit once and you die. And you had to play through that entire stage without dying a single time to unlock the character, which could prove to be extremely difficult and extremely frustrating, because if you made it that far already, you don't really want to quit just to go back to get the opportunity to unlock that character, but that's what you had to do if you wanted the opportunity to play with that character, unless, of course, you were out here cheating. Now, of course, my strategy at the age of 8 was to use the sprint button and just swing with reckless abandon as fast as I could at every enemy that showed up. But the failure of that was it seemed as if the game would catch on to your bullshit. It would know that you were about to run and charge, and a lot of times that was certain doom. Did that stop me from continuing with this strategy back then? Absolutely not. And often, when an enemy would go down, there was a few seconds delay, much like in Tekken, how you could use Law to just juggle enemies in the air. You could also get a couple more swings in before it went to the replay. And let's just say I was destroying my enemies with no regard for them. I was trying to just dice away at these guys whenever they hit the ground. Obviously, a frustrating game puts you in a position to do some stuff like that. And this was a game that had a blood splatter effect, so you knew when you were done in or you had just taken out an opponent, not because they would cry out or they would just collapse to the ground, but you saw blood fly in this game, which was crazy. There wasn't much going on in the realm of that at that time, so it was kind of ahead of its time in a lot of different ways. Not only was the gameplay just grueling and relentless, but there was also a level of realism when it came to sword fighting that I had never seen before. In fact, this was the first game where you were pretty much just fighting with swords. Except, of course, there's always an exception to the rule. There were 2 characters in this game on each side of the fence that used guns. I'm not kidding. They made you take a literal knife to a gunfight sometimes, and it was hard as hell. And that's like the only time that my running technique was paramount to winning. You had to be running, because if not, you were going to be blasted upon. And the replay was one of the most irritating features of this game. I mean, after you just spent countless hours trying to unlock a character, and then you get hit and defeated once again, and you have to go back through the game, it makes you wait, because it wants to show you multiple replays of the game itself kicking your ass. I mean, it was insult to injury in a major way. Bushido Blade 2 had so many weapons, styles of levels, playing styles, characters, you name it. I mean, the replayability of this game was just through the roof. There's so much that you could do, and I know that that was a big deal for me when I was growing up, when you couldn't just go look at videos of what games were like, and you couldn't just, you know, download a new game, or I mean, you had to go physically to the store to buy it. Once you had it, that was it. Usually, especially because of my age, I had to depend on my parents to hopefully give me money to buy a game. So getting to go over to my cousin's house and play some of the games that he had introduced me to a lot, because it was as if I was doubling my collection. Friends and family were a way for me to experience games that otherwise I would have never gotten to, because they only stocked the most popular ones at video rental stores and stuff like that. So getting introduced to that game back in the day really opened my mind to the possibilities in something like a fighting game. I mean, it wasn't just a side-scrolling 2D fighting game. This was full 3D. The levels were open and they were all different. Multitudes of enemies, like I said, endless possibilities, and the replayability of a game like that, when it may be one of 5 that you could only have in your collection, was huge. I feel like it doesn't get its just due in modern day, as people have become really obsessed with retro games and collecting. It's one that you could add to your collection, where a complete in box is not all that expensive. And if you actually are into playing these games and not just having them sit on your shelf, it's one I would suggest, in all seriousness. Probably top 10 favorite PS1 games of mine. So you should check it out. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm going to keep doing more retro game stuff like this, and, you know, retro movies and hidden gems and just retro gold. All in all, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.